this, but I am. Maybe my 2 or 3 viewers, I don't want to neglect them. So, all right, so this one, you were supposed to do it even, and basically we're just going over some addition procedures with fractions and decimals, okay? Nothing really that interesting. But nevertheless, these two have the same denominator, so I can combine those two, right? 3 and 3/5 plus 1/5 becomes 3 and 4/5. Now I get to add to this negative number. You can change, what do you call it? You can change the whole thing to an improper fraction if you like, or you can just change the denominators, the fractions to, or just fractions, find the common denominator. But that sometimes can be an issue depending on the numerators, and then you have to borrow from the whole number. So it creates, if you're very comfortable with that, by all means, go for it. So I'm going to avoid all that, and I'm just going to go and change this to an improper fraction. So this is times and plus. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19 over 5, plus negative, what is this? 9 times 1 is 9, it's 13 over 9, negative, right? Common denominator is 45. You can choose whatever denominator you want, and just know that the bigger the common multiple that you use, the bigger the fraction is going to create, and the bigger number you're going to work with. So my suggestion is to find the least one. So how to divide? So let's change 19 over 5 in terms of 45s. So it becomes times 9. So I multiply the top times 9. 9 times 9 is 81. So that becomes 171. How did the 9 change to 45? So we're going to multiply by 5. 13 times 5 is, I don't know, 65. So now we know our answer is going to be in terms of 45s, right? Over something over 45. So now we can look at the top. It's 171 plus negative 65. Well, think about this. You're 0. You're God. Let's forget the denominator for a second. So you have 171 here. And to that, you're adding a negative number. So if you're adding a negative number, where are you going? Are you going more to the right and increasing, or are you going to the left and decreasing your value? Well, we're going to the left, right? Because we're adding a negative integer. Okay, so again, forget that it's a fraction for a second. So we're going that way. So in essence, we're actually subtracting these two, right? So it's 171 minus 65. This is some borrowing. This is 0. Sorry, let's say it's the 1. Sorry, All right, borrow from the 7. That's a 6. So it's 11. 11 minus 5 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. And 106. All right, so 106 over 45, and you can change, and sorry, that's still positive, right? And then it's going to be 2 and 16 over 45. That seems to be the final answer. Okay. 4 is a decimal, so it's negative 3.5 plus negative 4.9 plus 0.8. So let's take care of these two first. So think about what you're doing here. You're adding two negatives. So if you create a number line here and you are a negative 3.5 now, and you're adding another negative on top of the 3.5, are you going further to the left or going to the right? Are you increasing value or decreasing value? We're decreasing value, right? So I'm going that way. So at the end of 3.5, I'm going to add a value of negative 4.9, right? That distance further to the left. So I know that this, a negative plus a negative, right? So we're going further down. So I know my answer is going to be negative. Now let's add these. So I have 3.5. Add those two. 14, carry 1, 8.5. So it's going to take me all the way to negative 8.4. Plus 0.8. Well, integer rules, right? So I have a negative number and a positive number. So let me draw this again. So here I am at 0, all the way to negative 8.4. So to that, now I'm adding 0.8. Am I going left or am I going right? Well, 0.8, I'm adding a positive number, so I'm going to the right. However small the value is, I'm still going to the right. So I was a negative 8.4, so I'm going to just move a little bit to the right. So, and to do that, we're going to subtract those two, right? I'm not adding. So 0.8 minus, it's a 7, 14 minus 8 is 6. So I end up going back. So let me just clear this up here. So that's where I was at negative 8.4, and I'm going to take a little step to the right, 0.8. That's how far to the right I'm going to go, that distance. And if I go that distance, 0.8 to the right, starting from negative 8.4, I end up at negative 7.6. 4, 6. Okay, so 6 is a bunch of decimals again. Again, that plus 0.77. Again, same story. Here you are at negative 0.25. And then we're adding another negative, so to that. So starting from negative 0.5, I'm going to add this value of negative 1.65, right? Oops. Add that. And where will that take me? Well, if I'm at 0.25 and I add 1.65, it's going to take me further to the left. So I know my answer is going to be negative. So let's add these two. And let's see how much further left I will end up. 10, 9, I end up at 190. Right, so think about it. If I owe somebody 25 cents and then I borrow more money, $1.65, well, my debt just increased, right? So I went from owing 25 cents to now owing $1.90, right? So that's why I'm at negative 190. Now, let me create that again. I am here at negative 1.90, and somehow we're adding a positive value, so that how much we're going to decrease our debt, right? We're going to go 0.77 to the right, and that's going to take us to a certain location, which we're about to find. So in order to find that location, I'm going to take 190, I'm going to take away 0.77, and that's an 8, that's a 10, that's a 3, and we end up at negative. So our location here is, you're still in debt, but you're a little bit less in debt, and you're at 1.13 negative. What was that? 6, 8, 9? 8, 0.3 plus negative what? Negative 5.5 plus 5.2. So let's do us a favor. Let's add these two positive numbers. That's a positive number, and that's a positive number. So $5.20 plus 30 cents, that's just the same thing as $5.50. Now I can add, this became super easy. It became just 0. Okay, because 5.5 plus negative 5.5, they're opposites, and opposites equal 0. 10, another decimal, so we have negative 3.24 plus negative 155. So again, we have two negatives together, so I'm going further to the left of the number line. So let me take care of these two first. So I know it's going to be negative. All right, I'm already owing somebody $3.25, and on top of that, I'm going to spend another $1.55, so that's going to take me even further in debt. So how much do I have in debt? Well, let's add these two expenses that I had. 10, 8, 5. So I'm all the way at 580. So that's how much in debt I am now after I spent that much. So 580 negative. And then to that, what am I doing? Oh, to that I'm going to add a positive number. So now I'm going to go to the right? So if you think about it again, here's 0, here's me in debt at $5.80. I'm adding a positive number, which means I'm going to go that way, right? So I'm going to be less in debt. Okay, so from the absolute value of, so if you think about it, from this absolute value, right, so the absolute value of 5.8, I'm going to subtract 2.5, the absolute, that distance from that, one distance from the other. So here's 580. From that, I'm going to subtract 2.512. Well, I need to add a 0 here, right? So subtract, we did some borrowing. 8 becomes a 7. This becomes a 10, which becomes a 9. That becomes a 10. So that's 2. 9 minus 1 is 8. 7 minus 5 is 2. And 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's going to, I'm still in the negative, but I'm going to be negative 3.282. Clear. And the last one is a fraction. So, yuck. Oh, all right, so it's not that bad. And hopefully, so 1.5 plus -2 and 12 over 23 plus 5 and 7, 46. So hopefully you realize that the common denominator is going to be 46. So let's put everything in terms of 46. So this is going to be, well, if you change this to 46, right, it's times 23. So I multiply the top by 23. So I get 23. This one is also, they were kind enough to give us a nice denominator here. So 23 to become 46 is just double it. So times 2, so which means I multiply the top times 2, keep it proportional. 12 times 2 is 24. And then 5, 7 over 46. Now, this could be a little bit tricky, hopefully not. So let's do the negative. So this one, it's nice and easy. Let's add the whole numbers. -1 plus -2 is -3. 46 we keep, and then we're going to add 23 and 24. They're both negatives, so 23 plus 24 is going to be 47. I know it's a improper fraction, so let's just leave it like that, because we're still going to do something over here. Plus 5 and 7 over 46. So here is why I sometimes don't like to work with, I'd rather change it, everything to an improper fraction. Okay, so let's do the fractions first. So the fractions, I have 47, so we know it's going to be 46. Okay, and we're going to subtract here. You know what, actually that's not going to work out. What I'd rather do, so we don't get anybody confused, is change. This is -3, 47 over 46, which is the same thing as 46 over 46, and then plus 1 over 46, right? So what essentially this becomes is 46 over 46 is just 1, and that 1 with that whole number becomes -4. So again, this is why I'm not a big fan of doing this. Plus 5, 7 over 46. Okay. So if we add these, actually it's a negative plus a positive. Let's do the whole numbers first if we can. 5 minus 4 is just 1. And then 7 minus 1 over here is just 6 over 46. Or 1 and 3 over 23. Okay. So I much rather not deal with that. Okay. That's it.